Hi there, I am Laura and this is Mosh Pit Banter. I'm here with the awesome Mikey O'Riordan from Our Divide Promotions. Mikey, how are you?
I'm very good. Thanks for having me.
Not at all. We are delighted to speak to you as a promoter across Dublin, focusing on metal, focusing on punk, focusing on rock, like getting bands to the stage. So we really wanted to talk to you and hear more about Mikey Verse.
Happy to be here. Absolutely.
He says that now, but he hasn't. I've got like 10,000 questions, so he may change his mind as we go forward. So I'm going to just open up with some softballs. How about that? Now I can't even read my own writing. So what is anything about that's uniquely that's unique about Dublin promoters in your mind? Is there a difference between kind of promoters across Dublin and Cork? I mean, I know I'm going regional. I'm probably going to start some fights, but you know, told you it was a softball question.
Well, with Dublin, it's pretty different compared to the rest of the country, I think, as far as gigs and promotion goes. For example, down in Limerick, they have a very strong scene. They are very much for the original music, for the local music. Same as Cork. Cover bands usually do well down that neck of the woods as well. Whereas in Dublin, there is a good scene. However, Dublin can be quite a bit more commercial. Like you'll even see at the Tree Arena. If you get a big name in there, it's always packed. Yeah. Sometimes in Fibbers, it can be an uphill battle sometimes trying to get heads in the door because you need to approach it from a more commercial standpoint sometimes. So, for example, sometimes what I may do is I'll book cover bands to headline and then I'll put on some original acts to really get people in the door, and then they can see the original acts too, and they might think, wow, they're actually not bad. Let's check out their Spotify and stuff. Original music does do well here, I think, as well. But I think notably Dublin is quite different in the sense that tribute bands are quite popular here, I'll say.
That's a bit of a surprise for me personally, because like I'd be a bit more of like the original bands. I like that new song. I like to hear about that. Like I have been surprised at how well tribute bands have gone on. But then myself and someone else there recently, we were saying, oh, we're in the same bar last night seeing a tribute band, right? So it's funny how it works out. But tell me a bit more about like Our Divide Promotions. What's your kind of focus? Like what are you looking for these days? What catches your attention?
Well, I think to speak about the focus of the company, it's important to touch on where it started. So I started OD Promotions back in 2016. The reason I did start it is because I'm also in a band called Pain and Vain. At the time, this version and lineup of Pain and Vain, we were struggling to get shows for ourselves. Also, as well as that, I was aware of a few promoters in the scene back then. Sadly, some of them distanced themselves from the scene. They booked less shows, and I noticed this void. And I thought to myself, well, I can give this a go. So when I first started the gigs, I didn't actually know how long I'd be doing it for. I wasn't sure if this would be like a trial or if it would go anywhere. But nonetheless, I gave it a shot, and thankfully it's still going today. So I'd say really the focus is I want to shine a spotlight on the talent in the music scene in Ireland and further abroad, especially in Dublin, you know. I know Dublin can be a challenging scene to work with, but, I've grown up here and I've seen plenty of great bands that deserve the spotlight, and, so far so good. There's been some really good milestones.
A mission after our own heart. And do you focus particularly on particular genres of the scene, or are you kind of quite open to all different types of talent?
Well, back in the day, like before the pandemic, I'd say most of the shows were metalcore or heavy metal. There was quite a lot more bands of that niche back then. After the pandemic, things kind of changed a little bit. There was less, I think there was a few less metal bands, and if there were still bands after the pandemic, they were kind of picking things back up again. So this kind of changed the dynamic a bit. So I broadened my bookings to like rock and cover bands, like I mentioned, punk. I did it even before the pandemic. I was starting to expand a bit. I done some trash black metal gigs, but as it stands today, if I see marketability in a show or a band, I'll give it a shot, you know.
And like, is that quite difficult then for you to kind of, you know, almost like, is there like an unspoken rule about how you're going to treat the different types of bands? Because obviously when you got a tribute act, you know you can fill it, right? And you know that they're there. And then you have the kind of a different band, which sometimes can be quite young, right? Like, say you're showcasing either new talent or you're giving an opportunity to establish talent because you know they're gonna fill. Like, is there any kind of unspoken rule to keep the peace between like the promoters, the bands, the venue? Because I suppose they've all got quite different needs.
Yeah, that's a really good question actually, because you know I've worked with touring bands, I've worked with bands who have only had their first show, I've worked with tribute bands that are going young, because tribute bands are only going one day. It always depends on the type of people you're working with, really. So for example, when you're working with touring bands, for example, I think a big milestone for me as a promoter, we had Harbinger from London in 2023. I'm not sure if you heard of them. They're brilliant.
Big name. They're
brilliant, like heavy metal / deathcore band. Sorry if I'm getting the genre wrong. And they nearly, or more or less, sold out Whelan's upstairs, and that was a big thing for us anyway. But like I was saying, they would have a sheet that they sent to promoters in advance with everything they need, the schedule. Like promoters would fill out an advance sheet and send it back to them. Like,
got it.
What time is the load and what time is dinner? What time is the sound check? What food are they expecting? Things like this. Whereas with local bands, you'd just kind of be you'd be communicating through Instagram and like sending them the drill and things like that. So you know, it can vary on what level of band you're working with. Absolutely.
And do you like the madness? Like, do you like all the coordination and the logistics? Do you like, please just turn up and do well, like have a great gig? Or are you like, I kind of secretly do enjoy all the coordination and mapping it all out? I know which answer I have, but I'm always interested in other people.
Generally, Irish bands are pretty sound, so it's not usually too much hassle anyway. You know, there has been some bloopers along the way, though. Absolutely.
Oh, I have questions for that too.
I kind of like the madness a little bit. Do you know what I mean? It wakes me up in the morning anyway. Like you wake up, check your Instagram. Yeah, sorry, we had to pull out from the show tonight. Like shit. Okay, what do I do now? You know, I know this other guy. I can text him. I know this other person. I can text him. So it can be a bit of a goose chase sometimes. You know.
So yeah, you love the madness clearly, which is always fun. But have you ever booked a band where like either you personally don't like the sound, or you're like, I'm booking you because I know you're deadly and you're going to fill a room and like full commercial lens on, or is there a band that, you know, is there like a bit of a trade-off between where you want to draw the line with bands you personally want to show versus the bands that you need to show to keep everything on the road?
That's another really good question.
And you don't have to drop a name, just an open question.
It's a really good question as well. You know, when I started the promotion company, I think I was guilty of just booking bands that I really, really liked.
That's your right as a promoter in my head.
Yeah, and that's great. Like, because the thing is, if you're interested in what you're promoting, you probably put more work into it. But as I don't know if there's any promoters watching this or any people who work in marketing, but as you grow older and dive deeper into your career, you'll start to understand that there is many different types of audiences that like different types of music. So I think I'm quite fortunate in the sense that what I like in music is passion. I like to feel like the singer is convincing, whether that's pop music or metal. Once I feel like it's a great song, the beat and the emotion will usually resonate with me. So this has kind of let me be more flexible in my bookings anyway. So maybe once or twice there would have been a band that I wasn't mad about, but I can still acknowledge their value in the marketplace, you know? Yeah. And
I suppose it's tricky, it is, because like you say, passion project / actually business.
Yeah,
this
absolutely.
is actually a business. I'm trying to do this, you know, to make it work. This is a bit of a random one, but like you guys have been around for a while, right? As a promoter, you've been watching bands, and like you say, there seems to be a pre-pandemic, like post-pandemic kind of life. I think we all would agree with that.
Yeah.
But have you kind of noticed a shift in kind of like the average metalhead in Dublin? Like whether it's an age, a vibe, a behaviour, like over the time since 2016, so now it's only 10 years you've been doing this now. Like that's a long time. Like personally, I'd be bitching about like how mosh pits have evolved. I was like, what is this? I remember this mosh pit and it was like super hardcore, and you know, obviously things change, but what have you seen over the last 10 years?
Well, you know what's funny about that question actually, you know, there's some bands that are fantastic in the thrash scene, you know, like Snowblinds, they've been there since the start. Psychosis, they've been around a long time as well. Saint Slaughter, they've all been there throughout the generational shifts and the pandemic and stuff. You know, sadly, a lot of metalcore bands from the previous decade have sadly disbanded. But I've noticed that like the thrashers, they've stuck around, which is great to see. On the more metalcore side of things, though, it seems like the turnover rate is a bit quicker. So like there's a newer generation of kids into metalcore and heavy metal and stuff, which is great to see. And you know, you will see the odd guy from 10 years ago or girl from 10 years ago. As far as the average metalhead nowadays, I guess it would be a toss-up between those generations. So, you know, you never know what you're going to get. You could get a metal veteran from 20 years ago, or you could get, you could see a kid coming into Fibbers for the first time and really enthusiastic. So, it really is a bit of a pick and mix, really, you know.
Yeah, it's funny because I saw you at Siege of Limerick a couple of weeks ago, and
great festival,
fantastic festival. Well done, you did a fantastic job. And what I really noticed was like just the amount of women in the room actually was a lot higher for me than normal. The bathroom queue was evidence of that. But there's always that kind of, you know, I like to see that progression over time, and it's great you know, kind of it's a lot more community focused. There's a lot more like newer people coming in, and the older people are staying. They're not going anywhere like me. They're hanging around, and then, you know, welcoming in the kind of the youngins, and then obviously clearly what I would do is dictate to them all of their musical talents for the next, you know, all their, you must like this band, you must check out this album, regardless of what they like. I find the older you get, the more pushy you get about what music they should be listening to. Sorry, and for anyone who's had that experience with me. I don't know whether you agree with me or not, but like one of the reasons that we are kind of doing kind of Mosh Pit Banter is because we want to showcase like awesome bands, and we want to, you know, showcase the fact that there's some phenomenal talent in Ireland. In my opinion, we're punching well above our weight in relation to like caliber of musicianship and, you know, the quality of music out there. Like, why do you think that is the case? Is there anything unique about Ireland in your experience, from your seeing it from both sides, being in a band and being a promoter?
Are you saying the standard of Irish metal and bands is very high?
Yeah, I genuinely believe that.
I agree too. I think we're quite blessed to have so many great bands. As well as that, I think, although all of these bands, they have different influences, as far as Ireland goes, when you hear them, there's a high chance you'll recognise them pretty straight away. Like, for example, Worn Out, they're a great band. As soon as I hear a track, I'm like, that's Worn Out, you know what I mean? For example.
Yeah.
Or like Tide 7, whenever they come on, like, that's Tide 7. You know who it is straight away.
Yeah.
So I'm inclined to agree with you. I think the standard of musicianship is very high, and we're very lucky to have that.
Absolutely, and obviously as a spectator, I fucking love that. This is maybe a bit of a random question. We talked a little bit about moshing when we were talking to you with Pain and Vain. Is moshing in Dublin more respectful or violent than you've seen elsewhere? You've been travelling all over. You've got contacts everywhere. I
think Dublin's scene. I think we have some history with mosh accidents.
Accidents, not etiquette.
Yeah.
Do you think we need an etiquette?
I think so.
Do you think we need to set up a Mosh Pit Banter?
I've personally removed some people from Fibbers who were started fights in mosh pits.
You're jumping ahead of my questions. That was my question. Have you ever had to physically eject someone from a venue? What went down?
Sorry about that.
No. Start there. Go there.
Yeah, I have.
Tell us. What? Why? It has to be done.
It hasn't happened more than it's happened more than once. The more recent time I can mention, we had a Nirvana tribute in the end of 2023, and this dude, I know Nirvana's a fucking sick band, this dude was just getting a bit too into it, and then he went a little too hard, and then he started a fight in the mosh pit. And it's like, that's not going to look good. So it's like, you have to go now.
Yeah.
Kind of, you know, like, I don't take them out myself. Like,
yeah.
they have professional security, you know. So I'm trying to keep the peace, really. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You're trying to keep the show on the road.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm not a trained security professional. I'm just trying to have a good show. Yeah, you know what I mean? So.
There are times when you were like, please, someone help us. No, I totally understand that. But
I think other parts in the country, to their credit, they probably have a bit better mosh pit etiquette. But, like, Dublin's not all bad. Like, there is people who know what they're doing. Like, Dublin's still a great scene. But.
Yeah. And what's the one tip you would give them? What is your one mosh pit etiquette guidance?
The first one comes top of my head. If somebody falls, pick them back up. And if they need water, give them water. Don't leave them there. Do you know what I mean? And don't try start fights as well. That's not good.
No, we're all here to just enjoy ourselves. Like, just, you know, I know it looks bad, but it's not bad. Okay, it's all full of love and happiness, which sounds crazy. But like you said, if you fall back down, get them right back up.
Do your thing, but with an ounce of common sense as well. I'd say, you know,
and not too much alcohol in your belly. It just doesn't work out well. Yeah. Says Laura. He's never ever done that myself. So tell us about a gig then. You've done an awful lot of gigs, right? Like, again, whether you're playing or whether you're promoting. Too many, really? I don't think you're saying too many.
I'm only joking.
But tell us where everything went wrong. Like, as a promoter, like, and what, you know, but the crowd maybe didn't even necessarily know what had gone wrong. But yeah, give us some examples there. I feel like you've got a big treasure trove of, like, this is all the fun stuff of what actually the life of a promoter.
That's a tricky one now.
No names.
There's so much I could mention. The one that comes to mind, I won't mention the band. They probably know who they are. I love you guys. It's not a big deal. Don't worry about it.
He loves you.
But this one gig, you know, it didn't sell well. It was a package from UK, so it was like 2 UK bands I brought over, and I had one opener locally, and you know, there was not really anyone there, which was already a pretty bad starting point. And for whatever reason, you know, the opener band, their drummer couldn't make it, so they were using like backing tracks to keep it going. And you know, I love them. They were trying to keep it going.
That's a difficult situation.
They were trying their best to make the show go on, and I can only give them credit for that. Like, I'm not throwing any shade. But sadly, they couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And then the only 2 people that were there, it was this couple, and the guy says to me, "Sorry, can we have a refund?"
Shut up.
It's like, sorry? And I was like, yeah, can we have a refund? And it's like, no, I swear there'll be another band on in 20 minutes. I'm really sorry. And yeah, that's.
Did they stay?
I think they did.
They didn't get their money back anyway.
I think they did.
Keep the faith. Keep the faith.
But if said band is watching this and knows who they are, they've played some of the best OD promotion gigs. So in no way throwing shade, but that's just.
But that's the life. That's what I opened up with.
First one that came up.
Or, you know, how hard, because I can't imagine that. I mean, as a
it's been once or twice I nearly got beat up on separate occasions, but we won't talk about that.
I mean, I definitely want to talk about that.
I won't talk about that.
Okay, but you're safe now, right? You know what to do. You got proper security now.
Yeah. That'll be okay.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine. And that was kind of one of my questions. Going to be like, you know, that band that turn up that are just more difficult. Because I think, like, you know, you've reiterated a few times, like, listen, everyone's been really awesome, and, like, you know, if something goes wrong, they're doing their best to help.
I'd like to chime in. The band I mentioned, that they're lovely. It was just a bad day for everyone.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wake up and things go wrong for me. It happens.
Exactly.
It's not a big deal.
That's just the way it happens. But how you deal with this is the whole, you know, the whole fun of it. But I suppose, has there ever been a band that you've worked with where you're like, I will never work with you again? They may not, and hopefully they'll never know. But is there a band where you're just like, you guys were such morons, I can never, like, I just can't do this with you again?
I can probably count a few, yeah. Like
you didn't
one or
just
two,
say
maybe.
one.
I could probably count 1 or 2. Yeah, but like, you know, some of them are probably broken up anyway. So it's
badly behaved, or just like,
I don't know.
I'm just like trying to tease it out of you now.
Badly behaved. I don't know. There's a few instances to come to mind, but generally, if you just come across like too cool to play at the show, or entitled, or like no respect, it's like right, well, I'll just go fuck myself, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's a values conversation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, you're all here trying to do stuff. It's it's
Yeah, it
difficult
is a
to
stressful
find a balance.
environment because, nobody wants to get on stage and feel like things didn't go well. Like, no matter what, I'll always do my best to make a band happy and do what I can. I know there can be tech issues and stuff. It can be hard to make everybody work together. My intention, though, is to try get past these limitations, though, and just put on a great show.
Yeah.
I will say, just to get the record straight, I'm in the music scene to promote community and love and bands having a great time.
Yeah.
And that's it. No bullshit about it. Do you know what I mean? So.
But again, I think people resonate with that, right? They want that experience. You want to just get in there and have a great time.
Absolutely, yeah. This is, I think this is the first on camera too interview I did for OD Promotions. I'm totally happy to do it. But I remember even starting it off, I posted minimal photos of myself on the OD page, which was just all about the bands.
Yeah.
Like, some people didn't even know who was running the page at first, and that's because I didn't think it was about me, to be honest. I thought it was about the music and the bands and the love in between all of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's how I feel really about it.
Which is an interesting one from a career perspective, right? Because people would have said, I want to be a promoter, and it's like, well, what goes into that? And they understand that there's hard work in there, but like that, there's so much of you, because, if I see you somewhere, like even I was apologizing to you on your Pain and Vain interview, because I was like, I missed you when I was walking past you, but it's you are the essence that's pulling it together, right? You've got the relationships with the different venues, you've got the relationships with the bands. Unfortunately, it is all half about you know what I mean?
Yeah,
that you're pulling it together, which, despite the fact of, you don't want to necessarily embrace that world so much, which is kind of contradictory because you're the lead singer of another band.
Oh yeah, I still do my job as a front man and stuff, but I just think I'll find good work relationships and transparent connections fastest through just focusing on keeping my head down low and my hopes high, really.
Yeah.
I try not to chime too much into like the look at me sort of way of the music industry. Like, yeah, I'll totally come up, I'll do an interview, I'll show my face and stuff, but I don't want to ever come across like egocentric. That's not my intention.
No, and the reason we brought you on is because I love all the gigs you're putting on.
I appreciate it, thank you.
Because maybe when I first met you, I was like, tell me more. Do you really want to talk more about you? I want to hear about what's going on.
That's it, and I think that's what's brilliant about this interview, because you reached out to myself because of the shows, and that's a really good thing, because the shows is what it's all about, and I'm really happy to be here,
and we are very happy that he is also. Coming up, there's a bit of a one, and we talked about this before in another conversation around like subgenres of metal, and I'm useless at that. My co-host Egro is brilliant. He's able to say that is in line of this, that is in line. I'm useless. I'm like track 4, CD2. Love that song. But do you think there's any kind of genre or subgenre that's on its way back at the moment? Tell me more.
I think hardcore is definitely on the way back, like big time, and new metal is probably on the way back in too as well.
That's so nostalgic.
I think metalcore, absolutely, but I feel like, for example, I know that we spoke about Pain and Vain earlier, but if you reference Blasphemia, you might notice there's some hardcore influences in there, maybe a bit similar to like Knock Loose and stuff. Knock Loose, they were on what was that TV show again? Do you remember?
No.
It was
Useless with TV.
Jimmy Kimmel, I think.
Oh, the Jimmy Kimmel show. Yeah, tonight.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, they're on national American TV.
Wow.
Like, that's huge.
Yeah.
And that's awesome to see. So I'll definitely say like that, and the goth aesthetic is definitely coming back in full force,
Anything that needs to die a peaceful death?
No, I think let everybody be themselves, really.
That's a very good answer. And as a promoter, that's a great answer.
You probably just wouldn't catch me listening to country music very quickly.
Do you remember when country was huge here for a while?
I probably turned it off.
Yeah, no, I remember it was huge. People were doing line dancing and everything, and like that. Respect everyone. Everybody enjoys the thing, but I was surprised at how big it was.
I'll book a country OD promotions show just to prove everyone wrong. That
there we go. Fill her in with some country folks, people.
Please don't call my bluff on that.
I feel like I'm not going to have to. So, which kind of upcoming metal bands do you think are going to break through? Right, you're showcasing. We're trying to showcase. Like, which ones do you think will go the distance? Or who are you championing is probably a fairer question.
Well, I think a lot of bands here have potential too, absolutely. But I think from a distance at least, one name that keeps popping out to me is Worn Out. They're touring the UK. I think they were in Scotland like recently. Like they're pulling all the stops to get out there.
Yeah.
And fair play to them. I know it's not an easy industry to be a part of, but they work so hard, so I can only give them credit. And I won't be awfully surprised if they were only on to bigger and better things very soon.
Amazing.
I'd wish that for any band, but they're the first name that came to mind.
Yeah. And it you know, it's a hard one, right? We've all got the bands that we just absolutely adore, you know, and I've got this roster of stuff. I'm like, I love you, I love you, I love you. And like that, you hope that they're going to go the distance. So what's kind of the one hill that you will die on, right, about the metal scene that will start a fight in a bar?
Oh, God.
Not an easy one.
The metalcore is good. Sorry, that's a bit...
No, I'm teasing. We are all...
Metalcore is a lot better than people give credit for, I think.
That is a fair point.
So that's what I'll die
He's
on.
going to go on that hill. Amazing. And tell us a little bit then about who, you know, I am a new band right now. We just talked about how difficult it is to kind of make or break it. Can you give them any advice as a promoter on how they can kind of be seen in a world that's getting a little bit busier?
Well, I think if you're starting off in a band, you know, first things first, you'll need to establish your identity, your brand, what you're about. Ideally, what a promoter needs is they need like music videos, photos, maybe even behind the scenes. So sadly, there will be quite an investment phase if you're only starting off. If you're struggling to invest in your product, maybe try play a few shows. Try get your friends to get a HD phone camera. Get an application, splice it all together, even get some decent reels going. It's just good content is consistency really for this, because the more good content a band is putting out, the better they sound, the more marketable they are for me. And marketability is what I need to sell tickets to get people in the door.
Yeah.
And if none of that's happening, it's going to make it less, how will I say, for lack of a better term, appetizing for me to put it on.
It's not just anymore about the music, right? We all want it to be about the music, but you need to be able to present.
You know, the music, that's totally their territory, but once I can see a band has a unique sound, a marketable sound, and they know what they're going for, it'll make it easier for me to market it. You know, like if you're booking a heavy metal band and they have a unique sound and you know this is going to resonate with some people, put them in. If you have a pop punk band and they have their identity sorted, like Crown the King, they're brilliant bands, you know, ideally get them in that sort of way.
Yeah.
Whereas if a band doesn't have an Instagram page set up or they don't have a name yet or anything, and they're coming up to you at a party, for example, like, can you get me a gig? It's like, yeah, okay, what's your Instagram page? Where's your Facebook page?
Yeah.
How am I able to move forward if
I can't fill a room for you?
You know, like you gotta work that part out first, you know?
Yeah. Which is, you know, unfortunately, everybody wants a quick win. Me in particular, I'm very impatient, but you're telling me it's a slog and you need to take the step by step. But the consistency is what gets you in the mix. You get to kind of have that conversation if you bring the consistency.
It might sound a bit jaded, but for me, a lot of time with bands, I might hear a name, and if I heard of them, then I'll already be well aware of them. And if I haven't heard of them, my next question is, okay, why haven't I heard of you guys? Is it because you haven't marketed yourself enough? Or like, is it because I've been under a rock? Like, which one is it, you know? So it's important to get to the bottom of that question sometimes. It's not always on them. Sometimes it's on me. Sometimes I need to wake up and see what's going on.
Yeah, keeping a finger on the pulse.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's very important to do as a promoter, absolutely.
So coming up to our final question then, tell us more about what your kind of next few nights that you're showcasing at the moment.
I say we've got Straight for the Sun on the 10th of May. They're coming in from England. It's going to be a big one. And awesome band, Morbific from Finland. They're like death metal. From up that neck of the woods. They're coming down on 17th of May with support from Incessant and Cutthroat.
Wow.
So that'll be a big one for sure.
Going international.
Yeah, so they're the big ones for the next month. And then I'm going to book some more shows in the Sound House as well this year. So, Paramore tribute there and the venue on July 12th there.
Amazing. That sounds awesome.
They're all the big ones at the moment.
And how can they find out about where those gigs are? How can they find out more about what's happening with you guys?
Instagram/Out of Void Promotions. Facebook page, I'm pretty sure it's the same one, Out of Void Promotions, or outofvoidpromotions.com. And for the Sound House, thesoundhouse.ie, as well as fibmcgee's.ie.
Amazing. Mikey, thank you so much. This has been
Thanks
really
for having
fun.
me. Thank you.
We will check out some of your bands and the new gigs, because I really do enjoy them.
Make sure to check out Pain in Vain.
And Pain in Vain, his band, which are awesome. We've also got another interview with those guys. You will really enjoy it.
We're pretty cool.
They are pretty cool. Mikey, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Yeah.